You're basically calling for the ethnic cleansing of 2.3 million people in Taiwan.
China is really merciless in dealing with corruption of all kinds.
To lose one minister might be unfortunate. To lose two is careless, is it not?
Corruption of all kinds in China need to be dealt with.
So where's the trial?
Mercilessness.
So where's the trial?
Today we have Mehdi Hasan doing another head-to-head, this time about Xi Jinping and China's seemingly bloodthirsty path towards war, fueled by control and domination, something that you can draw an eerie parallel to with Israel. So let's look over a few of these clips and see what we can learn about the region.
Since 2022, China has increased military drills around Taiwan. It's escalated since the new Taiwanese president was inaugurated in May. China is not a fan of him. Since then, there's been almost daily activity involving China's warships, drones, cyber attacks against Taiwan. China is getting ready to invade Taiwan, isn't it?
There is only one China. Taiwan is part of China, and the government of the People's Republic of China is the sole legitimate government for the totality of China. The exact status between the two sides of the Taiwan Strait is the unfinished civil war back in 1949. So ever since the beginning of the 1980s, China does not want to use a war to solve this unification problem.
You don't want to use a war, but you're surrounding it with ships, drones, cyber attacks, and making lots of threats.
Each time when the separatists in Taiwan want to push the edge of the envelope, they will come across more and more demonstration of the commitment of the Chinese nation to eventually achieve peaceful reunification or otherwise.
This is just insanity. Taiwan was annexed by China in 1863. Annexation of land is now illegal in international law and was done so by the Qing dynasty, which was eventually then overthrown by Japan, who took control of Taiwan, who then ceded the island to the Republic of China in 1945, who is a main player in this kind of conflict, the pull for one China against Taiwan independence, as their civil war began shortly after against China proper new government, the People's Republic of China, that created this divide, like I said, that we're seeing today. They became a democracy, Taiwan did, in the 1960s, where they also entered a period of rapid economic growth. Their export industrial economy is now the 21st largest. They are one of the main manufacturers of semiconductors. Independence movements in Taiwan have long worked to rename the government the Republic of Taiwan and to enter UN membership, to build alliances and trade partnerships, though most countries do refuse due to pressure from China and fear of a larger conflict, though they do have relations, I believe, with 11 member states of the UN. And it's important to note that the majority of Taiwan wants independence or wants to remain how they are, with only 12% wanting reunification. So this one China idea is not at all popular in the sovereign state of Taiwan.
Your defense minister said anyone who dares to pursue independence for Taiwan will be crushed into pieces and face destruction. Sounds like a truly peaceful guy.
That's a real statement, because if the separatists really want to push the edge of the envelope with the aid of some big country, for example, which wants to use Taiwan as a proxy in its own geopolitical rivalry against China, then wait until you see what will happen. Reunification will be achieved, and China is the only permanent member of the United Nations Security Council, which has not yet achieved a complete reunification.
Well, I'm always amused with this phrase reunification, because if it's one China, then clearly it's not one China. Clearly you're accepting by definition if you need to reunify it. They are doing their own thing.
This is just a wonderfully practical point. It's not one China if you need to reunify, and they've long been doing their own thing, which is acknowledged even by China when they say they need to reunify. If it was one China, there would be no reunification. And this is why I think it draws some resemblance to Israel, who stakes some religious claim to Palestine because of thousands of years ago, their people were in the land and all of this blah blah blah, or even Russia with Ukraine, who Ukraine has long been sovereign, but because they were once in the Soviet Union, Putin thinks that he is owed Ukraine pretty much. It's these kind of imperialist domineering ideologies that think they can forego sovereignty if at any point in history you had claim to the land, that leads to these kind of larger scale conflicts. But China's is even weaker, as their control of Taiwan came through annexation in the first place, which again is internationally illegal.
You're very blunt in your disregard for people's views, freedoms, dignity. You say you don't care about what they think. You also said in an interview with the French newspaper Le Monde, once we get the island back, we'll have to ask everyone's origins. Those who have Japanese ancestry, who you basically say constitute 10% of the population, will have to pledge loyalty to reunification in writing, otherwise we'll have to help them leave. You're basically calling for the ethnic cleansing of 2.3 million people in Taiwan.
No, you remember back in 1945, when Japan unconditionally surrendered, a lot of people in Taiwan who originally came from Japan, they were the rulers of Taiwan at the time, they stayed behind because of the magnanimity of the Chinese nation. Now, several decades later, they account for about 10% of the local population in Taiwan.
What he's claiming here is absolutely baseless, but it's important to note there's around 800,000 foreign residents in Taiwan and over 500,000 indigenous Taiwan people, of whom he is speaking to ethnically cleansing from their home if they don't bow completely to China's will. This is maniacal and ludicrous. And if this is how China is speaking of the people of Taiwan, first imagine the treatment they would be subject to upon reunification. It would be one of oppression, if not ethnic cleansing. Like if you luck out of the ethnic cleansing, you get oppression. And through that lens, you can see why Taiwan would want to remain independent and apart from China.
Former Foreign Minister Qin Gang was removed from his post and has not been seen in public since June 2023. A few months later, China's Defense Minister, General Li Shangfu, disappeared from public view for months, has now been expelled from the party, accused of corruption. That's at least 2 ministers that disappeared just in the last year. With apologies to Oscar Wilde, to lose one minister might be unfortunate. To lose two is careless, is it not?
Do you know the point I want to make? This means China is really merciless in dealing with corruption of all kinds, even among the highest.
Your foreign minister and defense minister. Imagine Antony Blinken and Lloyd Austin just disappeared tomorrow. We don't know where they are. We've never seen them again. That's not normal, Victor.
Listen, corruption is rampant in China.
How do we know they're corrupt? They just disappeared. Where's the trial?
Where's the trial, Victor? Finish my point. Corruption of all kinds in China need to be dealt with.
So where's the trial?
Mercilessness.
So where's the trial? Where's the trial of the former foreign minister? We don't even know where he is.
Mehdi, those things you don't know doesn't mean doesn't happen.
So if anyone doesn't know already, I mean, this is absolute insanity. These are members who worked in China's government whom, without trial, has now just disappeared for extended periods of time, either in captivity or killed. And this man is just saying, yeah, we deal with corruption mercilessly. This is the country of a leader that Trump always compliments, by the way, who he said that he wants to rule with an iron boot just like he does, and of whom has an authoritarian government like the one that Trump is trying to instill. This is something we should all reject, push back against, and honestly fear happening. It's inhumane and cruel, and it's wild that they feel comfortable saying these things out loud.